The discarded genius. The depth charge plunges into the black Atlantic waters. Captain Aldrich Hartford watches from the bridge of HMS Falcon as the weapon disappears beneath the foam. His hand rests on the rail, steady despite what he knows. This charge is set to detonate at 50 feet. Not the regulation 150. Not the 300 that the Admiralty manual prescribes for deep-diving submarines. 50 feet. The ocean is about to erupt in a geyser that will be visible for miles. His own ship will shudder, rivets will groan, and every man on deck will know what their captain has just done. Commander Nathaniel Cruz stands beside him, young face pale in the winter darkness. Captain Hartford, the Admiralty has ordered cessation of non-standard tactics. This is, I'm aware, Commander. Hartford's voice is quiet. 45 years of life have taught him that the loudest men rarely accomplish the most. 20 years behind a desk have taught him that bureaucracy kills as surely as torpedoes. Release the charge, the ocean explodes. Water erupts skyward in a column of white fury. The shockwave hits HMS Falcon like a physical blow. The deck plates shudder. Men grab for handholds. Below decks, loose equipment crashes to the floor. The violence of it is terrifying, beautiful, and completely forbidden. Cruz grips the rail, knuckles white. Hartford simply watches. Somewhere in the darkness below, a German U-boat commander is making a decision that will determine whether he lives or dies. Whether his crew of 47 men see morning. Whether Hartford's mathematics are correct or fatally flawed. The water settles. The Atlantic returns to its rolling, infinite darkness. And Aldrich Hartford, passed over for promotion twice, denied command for 2 decades, waits to see if breaking every rule in the Royal Navy's manual will save Britain from starvation. 72 hours earlier, the Atlantic Ocean is killing Britain, not quickly, not cleanly, but with the methodical efficiency of mathematics. 7 million tons of shipping sunk in 1941 alone. Merchant vessels torn apart by torpedoes, fuel tankers erupting into floating infernos, cargo ships carrying food, medicine, ammunition, sliding beneath the waves while their crews scream in water thick with burning oil. The numbers do not lie. At current loss rates, Britain has 6 months of food reserves remaining. 6 months before the island nation that has defied Hitler's Luftwaffe, that has stood alone against the Nazi war machine, simply starves into submission. The enemy is not visible from London, not audible in the Parliament debates, but beneath the Atlantic surface, German U-boats hunt in coordinated packs and British convoys burn. December 1941, the Admiralty Situation Room in Portsmouth. Admiral Percival Ashford stands before a map of the Atlantic Ocean. It is covered in red pins. Each pin represents a U-boat contact. Each cluster of pins represents a convoy under attack. The map looks like it has contracted a disease. 53 red pins, 53 submarines prowling the sea lanes between America and Britain. Gentlemen, we are losing this war. Ashford's voice carries the weight of 600 years of Royal Navy tradition. Also the weight of watching that tradition fail. In the past 6 months, we have conducted 574 depth charge attacks on confirmed U-boat contacts. 85.5 resulted in kills. He lets the numbers settle, lets the officers in the room perform the arithmetic. That is a ratio of 60 attacks for every German submarine destroyed. Meanwhile, the Germans are building new U-boats faster than we can sink them. Admiral Dönitz now commands 240 operational submarines. That number increases monthly. Outside the windows, Portsmouth Harbour is grey under December clouds. Destroyers and corvettes move through the water, preparing for convoy duty, preparing to die in mathematically predictable numbers. Our doctrine is failing, our weapons are adequate, Our technology improves daily, but our tactics... Ashford pauses. Our tactics are killing us. He turns from the map. There is a man in this building who may have a solution. Most of you have never heard of him. Those who have consider him a curiosity, a theorist, someone who analyzes battles from safety while real officers fight them. Ashford walks to a filing cabinet, removes a folder thick with handwritten notes. Commander Aldrich Hartford, 45 years old, 20 years service, all shore-based, passed over for promotion to captain in 1935 and again in 1938. No combat command experience. Current assignment, administrative analysis of anti-submarine warfare effectiveness. One of the younger officers shifts in his chair, unable to hide his disdain. Desk officers are not respected in the combat navy. They are necessary, tolerated, not respected. Ashford continues. Commander Hartford has spent 2 decades studying every U-boat engagement we have on record, every attack, every failure, every rare success. He has identified what he believes is a fundamental flaw in our tactical doctrine. With respect, Admiral, we don't have time for theory. Ashford's eyes are cold. Commander Hartford's analysis suggests we could increase our kill rate by 400%. I suggest we make time. 3 floors below the Situation Room, in an office barely larger than a storage closet, Aldrich Hartford sits surrounded by 20 years of obsession. The walls are covered in charts. Not the tactical displays of ship movements and convoy routes, but something else entirely. Graphs, equations, acoustic propagation curves, tables of diving rates and detonation timings, the accumulated mathematics of death. Hartford is not an impressive man to look at. Average height, greying hair receding from a high forehead, thick spectacles that make his eyes seem too large, the uniform of a commander worn correctly but without particular pride. He looks like what he is, a middle-aged officer who will never make captain, resigned to finishing his career behind a desk. But the notebooks tell a different story. 12 leather-bound volumes filled with meticulous handwriting. Each volume represents hundreds of hours analyzing convoy battles, survivor testimonies, acoustic recordings. Hartford has read every after-action report filed by every escort commander in the Royal Navy since 1939. He has interviewed merchant sailors who watched torpedoes approach. Most importantly, he has done something no combat officer had time or inclination to do. He has interviewed the enemy. 1937, HMS Osprey, the Royal Navy's anti-submarine warfare school. Hartford had requested permission to interrogate German prisoners from the Great War. U-boat crewmen captured in 1917 and 1918 still held in British custody. The request had been granted mostly because no one cared what a desk officer did with his time. Hartford had spent 6 months in interrogation rooms, asking questions no one else thought to ask. What did you hear when British destroyers attacked? The answers had been consistent, precise, damning. Your propellers always. Very fast, very loud. We heard you coming from 300 meters away. Enough time to dive deep, turn 90 degrees and wait. Your depth charges exploded far above us, far behind us. Sometimes the pressure was uncomfortable, rarely dangerous. One old German submariner, Werner Kessler, had been particularly frank. The British attacked with courage, with determination, but also with predictability. We called it getting our backs scratched. Your tactics gave us warning, time and safety. Hartford had filled 3 notebooks with those interviews. Now, in December 1941, he opens one of those notebooks. His handwriting from 4 years ago stares back at him. Fatal flaw, high-speed approach gives acoustic warning. U-boat diving rate, 1 foot per second. Time from propeller detection to depth charge arrival, 35 to 40 seconds. Submarine depth at charge detonation, 200 feet minimum. Standard charge setting, 150 feet. Result, Charges detonate above and behind diving submarine. Solution: eliminate acoustic warning, attack slowly, set charges shallow, force enemy to surface or remain in killing zone. The mathematics are elegant. The solution is obvious. The problem is that it violates every regulation in the Admiralty Manual. A knock on the door interrupts his thoughts. Come. Admiral Ashford enters. Hartford rises immediately, surprised. Admirals do not visit commanders in basement offices, not unless something has changed. Commander Hartford, I've read your analysis. Sir, it contradicts 20 years of established doctrine. Yes, sir. Ashford walks to the wall of charts, studies them in silence. When he speaks again, his voice is measured. We're assigning you to HMS Falcon. Convoy escort duty, Gibraltar to Britain route. You'll command the 36th Escort Group. Hartford's face betrays nothing, but inside, something shifts. Command. After 20 years. After being passed over twice. After resigning himself to retirement behind a desk. Sir, Thank you, sir. Ashford turns to face him. Don't thank me, Commander. This is not a promotion. This is not a reward for your analysis. Frankly, most of the senior staff think your theories are nonsense, dangerous nonsense. He moves closer, voice dropping. You're being given this command because we are desperate, because conventional tactics are failing, and we have nothing to lose by trying alternatives. If your methods work, the Navy will take credit for innovative thinking. If they fail, if merchant ships burn because you wasted depth charges on shallow detonations, you will be court-martialed and forgotten. The words should sting. They don't. Hartford has spent 20 years being overlooked. He understands political calculation. I understand, sir. Do you? Ashford's eyes are hard. You're 45 years old, no combat experience. You'll command men who have been fighting this war while you filed reports. They will not respect you. They will not trust you. And the moment you implement tactics that contradict their training, they will question your sanity. Hartford meets his gaze steadily. I've spent 20 years studying how we lose battles, Admiral. I'd like the opportunity to prove we can win them. Ashford almost smiles. Almost. HMS Falcon departs Portsmouth in 3 days. Don't waste this chance, Commander. It's the only one you'll get. HMS Falcon is not a prestigious assignment. She is a Bittern-class sloop, 1,100 tons, maximum speed 19 knots. Old by modern standards, reliable, unglamorous, and assigned to convoy escort duty that more glamorous destroyers consider beneath them. Her crew of 140 men are professionals, but they are not the Navy's elite. December 11th, 1941. Hartford boards his ship for the first time. Commander Nathaniel Cruz, the first officer, meets him at the gangway. 35 years old, lean and weather-beaten from years at sea. He salutes correctly, but his eyes assess Hartford with barely concealed skepticism. Welcome aboard, Captain Hartford. The title feels strange. Hartford has been commander for so long that captain sounds like it belongs to someone else. Thank you, Commander Cruz. Status of the ship? Ready for sea, sir. Convoy HG-76 departs Gibraltar December 14th. 32 merchant vessels carrying supplies from North Africa to Britain. Our group will provide escort. They walk through the ship. Hartford's eyes take in everything. The depth charge racks on the stern. The ASDIC sonar dome beneath the hull. The crew going about their duties with the efficiency of men who have done this before. In his cabin, Hartford unpacks his belongings. One small trunk of clothes, 12 notebooks, a photograph of Margaret, his wife, taken before the war, before the lines around her eyes, before the fear became permanent. That night, in the wardroom, he briefs his officers. The response is exactly what Ashford predicted. Shallow set depth charges, sir. The gunnery officer's tone is carefully neutral, but the disbelief is obvious. Regulations specify 150 feet minimum. At 50 feet, we risk damaging our own vessel. I'm aware of the regulations, Lieutenant. Sir, with respect, the manual is clear. Depth charges must detonate near the submarine's pressure hull to cause catastrophic damage. Surface detonations cannot. The manual assumes the submarine remains at attack depth. They don't. They dive the moment they hear our propellers. Hartford stands, walks to the map table. A Type 7 U-boat dives at approximately 1 foot per second. From the moment their hydrophone operator hears our high-speed approach, they have 35 seconds before our charges arrive. In 35 seconds, they drop to 200 feet. Our charges, set to 150 feet, detonate above them. He traces the path on the map. But if we approach slowly, at 4 knots, we generate minimal propeller noise. The U-boat doesn't hear us coming, doesn't dive, and when we drop charges set to 50 feet, they detonate before the submarine can escape. Silence in the wardroom. Finally, Cruz speaks. Captain, has this tactic been tested? In theory, yes. In combat, no. Sir, if it fails, we continue current methods and accept current results. 5% success rate, 60 attacks per kill, convoys burning while we throw explosives into empty water. Hartford's voice is level, but there is steel beneath it. I've spent 20 years watching us lose this war from a desk. I will not spend my first command following tactics I know to be ineffective. December 14th, 1941. Convoy HG-76 departs Gibraltar. 32 merchant ships in columns of 4 ploughing north through grey Atlantic swells. Their holds carry food, fuel, ammunition. Their crews are mostly civilians, merchant sailors who signed up to transport cargo, not to be hunted by submarines in wolf packs. HMS Falcon takes her station on the convoy's port beam. Hartford stands on the bridge, watching the merchant vessels laboring through heavy seas. Somewhere ahead, German submarines are gathering. Admiral Dönitz has made this convoy a priority. British naval intelligence has intercepted the orders. Destroy HG-76 completely. Show Britain their lifeline can be cut. 10 U-boats are converging on this convoy's route. Against them, HMS Falcon and 4 other escorts. 5 ships against 10 submarines. The mathematics are not encouraging. December 17th, 1941, 0430 hours. Aztec contact, sir, bearing 270, range 800 yards. Hartford is on the bridge in seconds. Sleep has become something he does in 15-minute increments. Classification? Submarine, sir. Definite. She's at periscope depth, trailing the convoy. This is it. The moment 20 years of theory meets reality. Signal to HMS Dartmouth. Maintain sonar contact and provide continuous bearing updates. We will attack on your guidance. Cruz is at his shoulder. Sir, standard procedure is to attack at maximum speed. I'm aware of standard procedure, Commander. Helm, slow to 4 knots. Depth charge cruise, set charges to 75 feet. Pattern Alpha. The bridge crew exchanges glances. 75 feet is shallow, dangerously shallow. HMS Falcon creeps forward through the darkness. 4 knots is barely faster than a walking pace. The submarine maintains position, unaware. Its hydrophone operator hears nothing alarming. No high-speed propellers, no attack imminent. HMS Dartmouth radios continuous updates. Contact steady, bearing 272, range 400 yards. Hartford's hand rests on the bridge rail. Steady, always steady. Range 200 yards, sir. Release pattern Alpha. 8 depth charges roll off the stern, one after another. They disappear into the black water. 4 seconds. 8 seconds. The ocean erupts. Not with the distant underwater thump of deep charges, but with massive surface geysers that tower 50 feet into the air. The explosions are so close, so violent that HMS Falcon shudders as if she's been hit. Water crashes across the stern. Men grab for handholds. Below decks, damage control teams brace for impact. Crew's face is pale. "Captain, we've damaged ourselves." "Asdic, report contact." "Contact diving, sir. Emergency dive. Bearing now 285. Depth increasing rapidly." Hartford allows himself the smallest satisfaction. She's wounded, diving to escape the killing zone. HMS Dartmouth, pursue and drop pattern Bravo at depth 200 feet. The second attack forces the U-boat deeper. Oil slick surfaces, debris, but no submarine. U-131 escapes, wounded but alive. In the Falcon's wardroom that night, the officers are silent. The attack violated every principle they were taught. The shallow charges created surface effects that were terrifying, yet the submarine was forced to dive, to flee, to abandon its attack position. "Sir," Cruz finally says, "the Admiralty will demand an explanation." Hartford is writing in his notebook, documenting timings, detonation depths, observed enemy response. "Then we'll provide one." The radio message arrives 6 hours later. Encrypted, priority, report, justification, non-standard depth charge settings, stop, explain deviation from approved doctrine immediately, stop. Hartford composes his response with the precision of a man who has spent 20 years writing reports. He cites acoustic propagation rates, diving speeds, statistical analysis of 574 previous attacks. He explains in technical detail why the current doctrine achieves 5% effectiveness and why his modifications calculate to 30% minimum. The response arrives before dawn. Permission denied. Stop. Resume. Standard attack procedures. Immediately stop. Depth charges will be set per manual specifications. Stop. Acknowledge. Stop. Hartford reads the message twice. Crew stands beside him, waiting. "Acknowledge receipt, Commander." "Yes, sir." Cruz drafts the acknowledgement. Hartford signs it. The radio operator sends it. Then Hartford walks to the depth charge stations. "Chief, preset all charges to 50 feet. Pattern configurations Alpha through Delta." "Sir, we just received orders to power." "I received orders, Chief. I acknowledged receiving them. Now preset the charges." The chief petty officer hesitates only a moment. Then he nods. "Aye, sir. 50 feet. Cruz finds Hartford on the bridge an hour later. "Captain, you just disobeyed a direct order from the Admiralty." "I acknowledged their message, Commander. I did not agree to follow it." "Sir, this is grounds for court-martial." Hartford turns to face his first officer. In the pre-dawn darkness, his face is calm. "Commander Cruz, I have spent 20 years watching British sailors die because we follow tactics that don't work. The Admiralty wants procedures. I want results. If they court-martial me for saving merchant ships, so be it." December 19th, 1941, 22:15 hours, U-57, 4 surfaces, 4 miles ahead of the convoy. She is running on diesel engines, recharging batteries, preparing for a night torpedo attack. Her commander, Captain Lieutenant Werner Kessler, is a veteran of 6 Atlantic patrols. He knows British tactics, knows their patterns, knows how to exploit them. What he doesn't know is that the escort commander hunting him spent 6 months interviewing his predecessors. HMS Falcon detects the surface contact on radar. Surface target, bearing 350, range 8,000 yards. Hartford studies the radar plot. The U-boat is running on the surface, confident. Why shouldn't she be? British escorts are predictable, loud, easy to evade. Signal to HMS Dartmouth, maintain sonar readiness. We will coordinate attack on my command. This time, Hartford implements the full tactical system, the one he designed across 12 notebooks, the one no one has ever tested in combat. HMS Falcon approaches from the south, slowly, silently. HMS Dartmouth circles wide to the north. The U-boat continues recharging, unaware that two ships are coordinating against her. "Range 4,000 yards, sir." "Dartmouth reports ready, sir." "Execute." Both ships accelerate simultaneously. The U-boat's lookouts spot them, scream the alarm. U-574's diesel engines roar to full power. She begins a crash dive. But Hartford has calculated the timing, has run the mathematics 1,000 times. HMS Falcon drops pattern alpha at 2,000 yards. Shallow charges, 50 feet tight spacing. The first detonation catches U-574 at 40 feet, diving hard. The shockwave hammers her hydroplanes, buckling the control surfaces. The submarine's dive becomes uncontrolled. Kessler fights for depth control. His boat is wounded, diving planes damaged, but he's a veteran. He blows forward ballast tanks, tries to level out. Too late. U-574 surfaces 600 yards ahead of HMS Falcon's bow. Hartford's voice is calm. "All ahead full. Ramming course." "Sir, we could use deck guns." "They're reloading torpedoes, Commander. No time." HMS Falcon accelerates. 19 knots. The submarine tries desperately to dive again, but her damaged planes won't respond. The impact is catastrophic. Falcon's reinforced bow strikes U-574 amidships at 15 knots. Steel crushes steel. The submarine's pressure hull crumples like paper. Her control room floods in seconds. Men are screaming, drowning, dying. U-574 sinks in 90 seconds. Falcon's crew rescue 14 survivors from the oil-slicked water. 31 German submariners go down with their boat. Werner Kessler is among the survivors, pulled from the water more dead than alive. As he's lifted onto Falcon's deck, his eyes find Hartford on the bridge. For a long moment, the two men stare at each other. Hunter and hunted, veteran and theorist. Kessler's eyes hold something Hartford doesn't expect: recognition. The encrypted message from Portsmouth arrives at dawn. Emergency Admiralty meeting convened. Stop. Hartford to explain unauthorized tactics. Stop. Preliminary investigation initiated. Stop. But there is a second message, sent separately in a different code. Continue current operations. Stop. Report results. Stop. Admiral Ashford, it seems, is hedging his bets. If Hartford's methods fail, the Admiralty will court-martial him for disobedience. If they succeed, they will claim they authorized experimental tactics all along. Political calculation, bureaucratic survival, Hartford understands. He's spent 20 years in the Navy. He knows how the game is played. What he doesn't know yet is that in the next 72 hours, he will sink 4 more U-boats, that his forbidden tactics will shatter a German wolf pack, that Admiral Dönitz will demand to know what new weapon the British have deployed, or that this victory will begin the process that kills him. Standing on Falcon's Bridge as December 20th dawns cold and grey, Captain Aldrich Hartford watches the convoy steam north. 32 merchant ships still sailing, still carrying food to Britain, still crewed by men who will see their families again. His hands rest on the rail, steady as always. Somewhere ahead, 9 more U-boats are hunting. And for the first time in 20 years, Aldrich Hartford is exactly where he needs to be. The Wolfpack shatters. December 21st, 1941. 0340 hours. The North Atlantic is black under heavy cloud cover. No moon, no stars, just the endless roll of winter swells and the phosphorescent wake of 32 merchant ships ploughing north toward Britain. Somewhere in that darkness, 9 German submarines hunt. Captain Aldrich Hartford has not slept in 23 hours. Coffee keeps him upright. Mathematics keeps him focused. The knowledge that every hour of delay costs merchant sailors their lives keeps him on the bridge. ASDIC contact, sir. Bearing 115, range 1,200 yards. Hartford moves to the sonar station. The operator is young, barely 20, but his hands are steady on the controls. Classification: Submarine, sir. Moving parallel to convoy, periscope depth. This is the second contact in 6 hours. The wolf pack is circling, probing for weakness, waiting for the moment to strike. Standard German tactics: identify the slowest merchant ship, coordinate attacks from multiple angles, overwhelm the escorts with simultaneous threats. Dönitz has refined this approach into an art form. British convoy doctrine has no effective counter, until now. Signal to HMS Dartmouth and HMS Thornbury. Maintain current stations. Falcon will engage. Commander Cruz appears at Hartford's shoulder. He hasn't slept either. None of them have. Sir, if we leave our station, the convoy's flank is exposed. The convoy's flank is already exposed, Commander. This contact has been shadowing us for 2 hours, radioing our position to the pack. If we don't eliminate him, the others will know exactly where to strike. Hartford studies the tactical plot. The mathematics of pursuit are complex, but the principle is simple. Kill the scout, blind the pack. Helm, come to bearing 115, slow to 4 knots. Falcon turns away from the convoy, moving into the darkness where the submarine waits. The crew knows what this means. They've seen the shallow charges work once, seen the ocean erupt, felt their ship shudder. They're about to see it again. Range 800 yards, sir. Depth charge crews, stand ready. Pattern Bravo, charges set to 50 feet. The submarine maintains depth, no crash dive, no evasive maneuvers. Her commander doesn't hear the approaching threat. 4 knots generates almost no propeller noise, just the whisper of water against hull. Range 400 yards. Hartford's voice is steady. Release pattern, Bravo. 6 depth charges roll into the water. The ocean erupts in fire and foam. This time, the crew knows what to expect. They brace for the shockwave. The deck still shudders, but no one panics. They're learning, adapting, beginning to trust that their captain knows something the manual doesn't. Contact breaking up, sir. Hull breach. She's going down. U-567 dies quickly. Her pressure hull, cracked by the shallow detonations, gives way at 200 feet. The implosion is instantaneous. 43 German submariners die before they can even scream. Hartford watches oil and debris surface in the darkness. Log the kill. Resume station with convoy. But HMS Falcon doesn't resume station alone. While Hartford was hunting U-567, he was also teaching. Every radio transmission between Falcon and the other escorts has included tactical data, approach speeds, detonation depths, timing sequences. The other commanders have been listening, watching, learning. When the next contact appears at 0820 hours, HMS Thornbury requests permission to engage using Hartford's methods. Hartford grants it. The attack is textbook. Slow approach, shallow charges. The U-boat, caught at 40 feet, blows ballast tanks and surfaces. Her crew scrambles onto the deck with hands raised, preferring capture to drowning in a crushed hull. 37 prisoners, 0 British casualties. The German submarine service has encountered something they've never faced before. British escorts that hunt with patience instead of aggression, that coordinate instead of charging blindly, that understand acoustic warfare better than the submariners themselves. Admiral Dönitz, monitoring radio traffic from his headquarters in occupied France, grows increasingly concerned. 2 U-boats lost in 18 hours, both to tactics his intelligence officers cannot identify. What weapon are the British using? His staff has no answer. December 22nd, 1941, 14:30 hours. U-131 is trying to escape. She's the submarine Hartford damaged on December 17th, the one that survived the first shallow charge attack. Her commander is cautious now, aware that something has changed in British tactics. But caution cannot save him from mathematics. Hartford has been tracking U-131 for 11 hours. Patient, relentless, using 2 escorts in coordination, maintaining continuous sonar contact while the submarine burns through her battery, trying to evade. The German commander is skilled. He tries every trick, ultra-deep dives to 500 feet, sharp turns, releasing oil and debris to simulate destruction. For 11 hours he stays ahead of the killing blow. But at 0400 hours, December 22nd, his battery finally dies. U-131 surfaces. Her crew is too exhausted to man the deck gun. They simply stand on the conning tower, faces grey with fatigue, and wait for the British to take them prisoner. Hartford brings Falcon alongside. 41 German submariners climb aboard, silent, defeated. Their boat slips beneath the waves, scuttled by her own crew rather than captured. The submarine's commander is the last to leave his vessel. He stands on the conning tower as water rises around his boots, then jumps to Falcon's deck. When he sees Hartford on the bridge, he salutes. Enemy to enemy. Professional respect. Hartford returns the salute. 3 submarines in 72 hours. The mathematics are starting to shift. December 22nd, 1941. 2015 hours. The Admiralty in Portsmouth is in chaos. Admiral Percival Ashford sits at the head of the conference table, reading the radio reports from convoy HG-76. Around him, senior officers argue with increasing volume. 3 U-boats sunk in 3 days, using explicitly forbidden tactics. Hartford has violated direct orders. He's also protecting the convoy. 0 merchant ships lost. That's irrelevant to the question of discipline. Ashford raises his hand. Silence falls. The question before us is not whether Commander Hartford disobeyed orders. He did. The question is whether his disobedience is producing results that justify continued authorization. Captain Edward Morrison, the senior tactics officer, leans forward. Morrison is 52, a veteran of surface engagements in the Mediterranean, and deeply invested in the doctrine Hartford is destroying. Admiral, one successful convoy does not validate throwing away 20 years of tactical development. Shallow set charges endanger the attacking vessel. Slow approaches make escorts vulnerable to counterattack. This is recklessness masquerading as innovation. 3 kills in 3 days, Captain Morrison. Our average is 1 kill per 60 attacks. Sample size is too small. Statistical anomaly. Luck. Ashford studies the reports again. Hartford's after-action summaries are meticulous. Every timing sequence documented. Every depth setting justified with acoustic calculations. Every engagement analyzed for lessons learned. This is not luck. This is systematic excellence. Gentlemen, we are losing this war. In November, we lost 93 merchant ships. In October, 68. If current trends continue, Britain will be unable to feed its population by summer. He closes the folder. Hartford stays in command. His tactics will be observed but not officially endorsed. If merchant ships burn because of his methods, we relieve him and proceed with court-martial. If his success rate continues, Ashford doesn't finish the sentence. He doesn't need to. If Hartford's methods work, the Navy will claim credit. If they fail, Hartford takes the blame alone. Politics, bureaucracy, the mathematics of institutional survival. The message sent to HMS Falcon is carefully worded. Continue current operations. Stop report results. Stop. No approval. No authorization. Just permission to keep fighting. Hartford reads the message, understands exactly what it means, and returns to hunting submarines. December 22nd, 1941. 23:30 hours. The final attack of the 72-hour period is the most complex. ASDIC detects 2 contacts simultaneously, U-434 and U-127, running together, coordinating their approach on the convoy's rear. This is advanced tactics. 2 submarines attacking from different angles, overwhelming a single escort's ability to respond. The Admiralty Manual has no procedure for this scenario. The standard response is to engage one target and hope the second doesn't score hits while you're distracted. Hartford has a different approach. Signal to Dartmouth and Thornbury, we will engage both contacts simultaneously. Falcon takes bearing 290, Dartmouth takes bearing 315. Thornbury maintains sonar coordination. Cruz stares at him. Sir, we're going to attack 2 submarines at once? We're going to attack 2 submarines with 3 ships, Commander. That's 6 against 2. Mathematics favor us. The attack unfolds with choreographed precision. HMS Thornbury maintains sonar contact on both submarines, radioing continuous position updates. HMS Falcon and HMS Dartmouth approach from different angles, slowly, silently. The U-boats don't hear them coming, don't realize the trap until it's too late. Both escorts release depth charges within 15 seconds of each other. The ocean erupts across a 200-yard front, a wall of detonations, nowhere to escape, nowhere to hide. U-434 surfaces immediately, hydroplanes destroyed. U-127 tries to dive deep, but the overlapping shockwaves have cracked her hull. She surfaces 90 seconds later, flooding through a dozen fractures. Both crews abandon ship. 78 German submariners rescued. 2 U-boats on the ocean floor. 5 U-boats destroyed in 72 hours. Convoy HG-76 continues north with 0 merchant losses. The German naval intelligence summary, intercepted by British codebreakers 3 days later, makes fascinating reading. U-boat commanders report new British weapon. Characteristics: depth charges detonating at shallow depth with unusual accuracy. Multiple coordinated attacks suggesting enhanced detection capability. Possibility of psychic or electromagnetic targeting system. Recommend immediate tactical review and countermeasure development. Hartford reads the intercept in his cabin. For the first time in days, he allows himself a thin smile. They think it's a weapon, a technology, some breakthrough in physics or detection. They cannot conceive that it's simply mathematics, acoustic propagation, patience, and one man's refusal to follow a manual that doesn't work. January 1942. The Admiralty can no longer pretend Hartford's success is luck. The promotion comes through on January 15th. Commander Aldrich Hartford becomes Captain Aldrich Hartford. The rank he was denied twice in peacetime is granted in war, not as reward but as political necessity. The citation is brief, bureaucratic, revealing nothing. For services in convoy protection duties demonstrating exceptional effectiveness in anti-submarine operations. No mention of broken rules, no acknowledgement of forbidden tactics, just results. With the promotion comes quiet authorization for other escort commanders to experiment with Hartford's methods. Not formal doctrine, not published in manuals, just verbal permission passed through unofficial channels. By March 1942, depth charges set to 50 and 75 feet are appearing across the North Atlantic. Success rates begin to climb. 5% becomes 8%, then 12%. The mathematics of the Battle of the Atlantic start to shift, degree by degree. But success has a price. April 1942. Hartford has been at sea for 16 of the past 18 weeks. Convoy after convoy, battle after battle, the 45-year-old body that spent 20 years behind a desk is being consumed by the demands of combat command. He's lost 20 pounds. His hands develop a tremor that appears when he's exhausted, disappearing only after coffee and 4 hours of sleep that he rarely gets. His uniform hangs loose. The crew notices but says nothing. You don't question a captain who's sunk 8 U-boats in 4 months. Margaret's letters arrive sporadically, delivered when Falcon makes port for resupply. Hartford reads them in his cabin, late at night, when the mathematics finally allow his brain to rest. James, the newspapers say you've been promoted. I'm proud of you, but I'm frightened too. Please tell me you're taking care of yourself. Please tell me this war won't take you from me the way it's taken so many others. He doesn't respond. What would he say? That every day at dock is a day merchant sailors die? That rest feels like betrayal? That he's found the thing he was meant to do and it's killing him? Instead, he returns to sea. April 18th, 1942. 1820 hours. The decision that will haunt Hartford for months comes without warning. ASDIC contact U-252. Perfect setup for a killing attack. Falcon has sonar lock. The submarine is at periscope depth. Weather conditions ideal. Hartford has run this scenario 100 times. He gives the order to attack. Then the lookout shouts, "Merchant ship bearing 340, range 600 yards." A straggler from another convoy, damaged and limping north alone, directly in the path of Hartford's planned attack zone. The mathematics become complicated. If Hartford releases depth charges now, the shockwaves might damage the merchant vessel's hull, might rupture fuel tanks, might kill civilians. But if he delays, "Sir?" Cruz is waiting for orders. Hartford calculates. 45 seconds to verify the merchant ship's position. 45 seconds for the submarine to detect the delay and dive. He makes the call. Delay attack. Verify merchant clear of detonation zone. 45 seconds becomes 60. By the time the merchant ship is confirmed safe, U-252 has crash dived and is running deep. Hartford orders pursuit, but the submarine is gone. Escaped into the thermal layers where ASDIC cannot track. The next morning, the radio brings news. U-252 torpedoed 2 merchant ships in the western approaches, 89 crew dead. Fuel oil burning on the surface for 3 hours. Survivors picked up by a Norwegian destroyer, most suffering from exposure and burns. Hartford reads the report in his cabin. 89 men dead. Because he hesitated, because he chose procedure over effectiveness, because for 45 seconds he let bureaucratic caution override mathematical certainty. He writes the numbers in his notebook. 2 merchant ships, 89 crew, died because I delayed, because I prioritized 1 civilian ship over executing the kill. Error in judgment. Will not repeat. That night, alone in his cabin, Aldrich Hartford allows himself 5 minutes to feel the weight of command, 5 minutes to understand that his decisions directly translate to body counts. Then he returns to the bridge. The mathematics. Wait for no one. May 1942 through March 1943. 15 months of continuous operations, 23 convoy missions, 147 days at sea. Hartford's 36th Escort Group becomes the most effective anti-submarine unit in the Royal Navy. 8 more U-boats sunk, dozens of attacks disrupted, countless merchant ships protected, but more importantly, Hartford teaches. 14 escort commanders rotate through temporary assignments with Falcon, learning the tactics firsthand. They watch Hartford conduct creeping attacks, study his coordination methods, learn to think like submarine commanders instead of surface officers. These 14 men carry Hartford's methods to other escort groups. The shallow charges spread, the slow approaches become standard, the 2-ship coordination becomes doctrine in everything but name. By March 1943, U-boat loss rates have increased by 40%. Convoy protection success rates have climbed to levels not seen since 1939. The Admiralty still hasn't officially endorsed Hartford's tactics, but they've stopped sending messages ordering him to cease using them. Political calculation remains political calculation. April 1943. The summons to Portsmouth arrives by encrypted message. Captain Hartford required Admiralty Conference stop temporary replacement assigned Falcon. Stop report Portsmouth, 15th of April. Stop. Hartford hasn't set foot on British soil in 8 weeks. When he steps off the train at Portsmouth Station, he barely recognizes himself in the reflection of the terminal windows. Gaunt, grey. The eyes of a man who hasn't slept properly in months. Admiral Ashford's office overlooks the harbour. Through the windows, destroyers and corvettes move through the water, preparing for convoy duty. The war continues whether Hartford is present or not. Captain Hartford, sit. Hartford sits. Ashford studies him with the eye of a man who's seen combat exhaustion before. You look terrible. I feel effective, sir. Those aren't mutually exclusive conditions. When did you last take leave? Hartford has to think about it. November 1941, sir. 17 months ago. Before your first command. Ashford shakes his head. You're going to die of exhaustion before any U-boat gets a chance to kill you. With respect, sir, merchant sailors are dying while I'm sitting in this office. Merchant sailors are surviving because you taught 50 escort commanders how to fight submarines properly. Ashford slides a folder across his desk. We're assigning you to command 2nd Support Group, HMS Sparrow and 5 advanced sloops, hunter-killer operations. You'll have the latest radar, improved ASDIC, Hedgehog, anti-submarine mortars. Hartford opens the folder. The ships are impressive, new construction, purpose-built for submarine hunting. This isn't defensive escort duty, Captain. This is aggressive patrol. You'll hunt U-boats in their operating areas, disrupt wolf pack formations before they reach convoys. Offensive operations. Yes, the tactics you've developed work. Now we're going to use them to take the fight to the Germans. Hartford studies the technical specifications. Better equipment, faster ships, improved weapons, but the real weapon isn't technology, it's understanding, mathematics, patience. When do I take command, sir? 2 weeks, which means you have 14 days to rest, eat properly, and remember what sleep feels like. That's an order, Captain. Hartford almost argues. Almost. But Ashford's face makes clear this is not negotiable. Yes, sir. April 20th, 1943. Hartford takes the train to his home in Southampton. He hasn't seen Margaret in 6 months. She opens the door and her face goes pale. James? Hello, Margaret. She pulls him inside, locks the door, and for the first time since December 1941, Aldrich Hartford is home. They don't speak much that first night. She makes him eat, forces him to sleep in an actual bed instead of a chair on a bridge, watches him with eyes that understand he's becoming something she doesn't recognize. On the 3rd day, she finally asks, How many? How many what? Submarines. How many have you sunk? Hartford is silent for a long moment. 13. That's good, isn't it? You're winning. 13 submarines, approximately 540 German submariners, most drowned, some crushed when their hulls imploded, some burned in diesel fires. He stares at his hands. I've killed 540 men, Margaret. To save approximately 4,000 Allied sailors by statistical calculation, it's a good trade. The mathematics work. But I see their faces when I close my eyes, young men, professionals doing their duty, and I'm killing them with mathematics. Margaret takes his hand. You're saving our sailors, James. That's what matters. Is it? Werner Kessler, the U-boat commander we captured, told me I think like a German, not like a British officer. He meant it as a compliment, as professional respect. Hartford looks at his wife. What if he's right? What if I've become so good at killing submarines because I've stopped seeing the men inside them? Margaret has no answer for that. Neither does Hartford. After 14 days of rest that feels more like purgatory than recovery, Captain Aldrich Hartford boards HMS Sparrow and returns to the North Atlantic. The mathematics are waiting, and somewhere in the darkness beneath the waves, German submarines are hunting. They don't know it yet, but the theorist who spent 20 years behind a desk has just been given the most lethal anti-submarine force in the Royal Navy. The Battle of the Atlantic is about to shift from defense to offense, and Aldrich Hartford, 46 years old, weighing 160 pounds, running on coffee and determination, is about to prove that expertise combined with obsession can change the course of history, even if it kills him. The Final Hunt, January 29, 1944. The North Atlantic in winter is a killing ground. Waves 30 feet high, wind that cuts through steel, ice forming on deck rails and rigging, temperatures that turn exposed skin numb in minutes. HMS Sparrow plows through the swells, her bow rising and crashing with mechanical rhythm. Behind her, 5 escort sloops maintain formation. Second Support Group, the Royal Navy's premier hunter-killer force. On the bridge, Captain Aldrich Hartford stands motionless, watching the grey horizon. He is 46 years old now. 2 years of combat command have carved 25 pounds from his frame. His uniform, tailored in 1942, hangs loose. The tremor in his hands is permanent now, visible even when he's rested, which he never is, but his mind remains sharp. The mathematics haven't failed him yet. ASDIC contact, sir, bearing 090, range 2,000 yards. Classification, submarine, running submerged. Hartford moves to the sonar station. The operator is tracking a clear contact, distinct against the thermal layers. Depth? 150 feet, sir. Speed 4 knots. She's conserving battery. This is U-592. Hartford knows this from the intelligence briefing. Kapitän Leutnant Ernst Kohler, commanding, veteran of 5 Atlantic patrols, cautious, skilled, exactly the kind of commander who has survived this long by understanding British tactics, but British tactics have changed. Signal to HMS Wren and HMS Kestrel. Take flanking positions 1,000 yards port and starboard. Maintain sonar contact. Sparrow will direct primary attack. The 3-ship coordination Hartford pioneered in 1941 has been refined into a science. 3 escorts working together, sharing sonar data, creating a net the submarine cannot escape. Helm, slow to 4 knots. Depth charge cruise, preset to 50 and 75 feet. Pattern Delta. Commander Nathaniel Cruz, transferred to Sparrow when Hartford took command, no longer questions these orders. He's watched them work too many times. The hunt begins. 12 hours, that's how long it takes to kill U-592, not because Hartford's tactics are ineffective, because Kohler is brilliant. Every time Sparrow closes for the kill, the German commander anticipates, dives deeper, turns sharply, releases oil and debris to simulate damage, but Hartford is patient. At 0300 hours, after 12 hours of continuous pursuit, U-592's battery finally dies. The submarine has no choice. She must surface or suffocate. Kohler blows ballast tanks. U-592 breaks the surface 600 yards off Sparrow's bow. Hartford expects the deck gun to open fire. Instead, German sailors emerge from the conning tower with hands raised. They're too exhausted to fight, too broken to resist. 23 prisoners climb aboard Sparrow. Not one has physical injuries from the depth charges. They're simply destroyed psychologically. 12 hours of knowing death was stalking them. 12 hours of hearing explosions creep closer. 12 hours of understanding there was no escape. Kohler is the last to board. He's 34 years old, looks 50. When he sees Hartford on the bridge, he speaks in accented English. "Captain, what weapon did you use?" Hartford's face is expressionless. "Mathematics. Impossible. We could not escape. We tried everything. You tried German tactics against British doctrine. I don't use British doctrine." Kohler stares at him, understanding dawning. "You are the one. The reports from 1941. The shallow charges. You." Hartford doesn't respond. There's no need. U-592 slips beneath the waves, scuttled by her crew. 1 submarine destroyed. 9 days of combat remain. February 9th, 1944. 0200 hours. 3 submarines. ASDIC has detected 3 separate contacts within a 5-mile radius. U-762, U-238, and U-734. A coordinated wolf pack preparing to attack a convoy 60 miles north. Standard procedure: engage one, hope the others don't score kills while you're distracted. Hartford's procedure: engage all three simultaneously. Signal to all ships, we will execute synchronized barrage attack. Sparrow, Wren, and Kestrel will form line abreast, 1,000 yards separation. Advance on bearing 350. All ships will drop continuous depth charge patterns at 9-second intervals. Cruise studies the tactical plot. Sir, that's a lot of explosives in a very small area. Yes, nowhere to hide, nowhere to run. We're going to create a wall of detonations and push it through their formation. The three escorts form line. At 0220 hours, they begin the advance. Every 9 seconds, all three ships drop charges. 50 feet, 75 feet, 100 feet, creating overlapping shock waves that turn 5 square miles of ocean into a killing zone. The submarines try to escape. U-762 dives to 400 feet, but the pressure waves find her anyway. Her hull cracks. She surfaces at 0604 hours, flooding through a dozen fractures. Her crew abandons ship. She sinks by the stern, vertical, like a tombstone disappearing into black water. U-238 runs deep and fast, burning battery at maximum rate. For 8 hours, she evades. Hartford pursues methodically, dropping 266 depth charges in a pattern that shrinks the submarine's safe area with each attack. At 14:23 hours, U-238's commander gives up. He blows ballast and surfaces. His crew is intact, but psychologically shattered. They climb onto the deck and wait for rescue, eyes hollow. While Sparrow is recovering, U-238 survivors, ASDIC detects U-734 attempting to escape east. The crew is exhausted. They've been at battle stations for 16 hours. But Hartford's voice is steady. Pursue and engage. No one argues. U-734 dies at 1847 hours after a 4-hour hunt. Her commander fights until his battery is completely dead, then surfaces and scuttles his boat rather than allow capture. 3 submarines in 9 hours. The cost: HMS Sparrow's crew has been at battle stations for 18 hours straight. 2 men collapse from exhaustion. The depth charge racks are nearly empty. Hartford logs the kills and orders the ship to rendezvous with a supply vessel. That night, Cruise finds him on the bridge, staring at the dark water. "Captain, you should rest." "The submarines don't rest, Commander." "Sir, with respect, you can't function on 4 hours of sleep per week." Hartford turns to face him. In the low light, his face is skull-like, gaunt, consumed. "I function adequately." "You collapsed yesterday, for 15 minutes. The surgeon says." "The surgeon is not in command of this vessel. I am." The edge in Hartford's voice stops further argument. February 11th, 1944, 0130 hours. U-424 is different. Her commander is Kapitän Leutnant Günther Steiner, 28 years old, brilliant. He has studied Hartford's tactics from intercepted radio traffic and survivor reports. He knows what's coming. When Sparrow detects U-424, Steiner doesn't try to evade conventionally. Instead, he does something unprecedented. He dives toward crush depth. "Contact diving, sir, passing 500 feet, 600, still diving." Cruise looks at Hartford in alarm. "Sir, crush depth for a Type 7 is 650 feet. He's going to implode. He's testing whether I'll follow, whether I'll risk my charges at that depth." Hartford's face is expressionless. "Maintain pursuit. Drop charges set for maximum depth." The hunt becomes a descent into darkness. U-424 continues diving 650 feet. 680 feet. 700 feet. The submarine's hull is groaning. Steiner knows this, knows he's seconds from catastrophic failure. but he's gambling that Hartford will break off, that no British captain would continue an attack this deep. He's wrong. At 0312 hours, at 740 feet, U-424's pressure hull implodes. The sound is captured on Sparrow's hydrophones, a prolonged shriek of tearing metal, a sound like the ocean screaming. Then silence. 47 German submariners die instantly, crushed by pressure that turns steel into fragments and men into paste. The hydrophone operator removes his headset, face pale. "Contact destroyed, sir. Hull collapse." Hartford nods once. "Log the kill." He walks to his cabin, closes the door, and for the first time since taking command of Sparrow, allows himself to feel what he's become. A killing machine. Efficient, relentless, utterly without mercy. The mathematics work. The tactics work, but somewhere in the process of perfecting them, Aldrich Hartford has crossed a line he can't identify, but knows he's passed. Gunther Steiner chose to implode his submarine rather than surrender, chose death over capture by the captain whose tactics are inescapable. Hartford writes in his notebook, U-424, hull implosion, 47 crew, total confirmed kills, 19 submarines, approximately 790 German submariners. He closes the notebook. The mathematics are clear. For every German submariner Hartford kills, roughly 5 Allied merchant sailors survive. The arithmetic favors his methods, but arithmetic doesn't explain why his hands won't stop shaking, why coffee no longer keeps him alert, why he sees the faces of drowned men when he closes his eyes. February 19th, 1944, the last kill, U-264. Kapitän Leutnant Dietrich Hartmann, commanding. Veteran, family man, 3 children waiting in Hamburg. Hartmann fights for 15 hours, uses every evasion technique in the German tactical manual, releases oil, drops debris, dives deep, surfaces and runs, dives again. Hartford counters each move with mechanical precision, no hesitation, no mercy, just mathematics applied to human targets. At 19:03 hours, Hartmann's battery dies, U-264 surfaces. Her crew is so exhausted they cannot man the deck gun. They simply stand on the conning tower and wait. 41 prisoners come aboard Sparrow. Hartmann is the last. He stands before Hartford on the bridge, uniform soaked, face grey with exhaustion. "You are Hartford." "Yes." "You have killed many of my comrades." "Yes." Hartmann studies him with eyes that have seen too much. "You know what you have become, Capitaine? You are not fighting a war. You are executing us, methodically, without emotion, like a machine." Hartford's face betrays nothing. "Your Navy started this war. I'm ending it." "Are you?" Hartmann's voice is soft. "Or has it ended you?" Guards escort him below decks. Hartford stands alone on the bridge, watching U-264 sink beneath the Atlantic. 20 U-boats destroyed, his personal total, more than any other Allied anti-submarine commander in history. The mathematics have never been clearer. May 1944, the German submarine service collapses, 43 U-boats lost in May alone, a catastrophic hemorrhage that Admiral Dönitz cannot sustain. He withdraws his submarines from the North Atlantic, conceding the waters that Hartford and commanders like him have made untenable. Allied convoy losses plummet. 96 merchant ships sunk in March 1943, 5 ships sunk in June 1944. The Battle of the Atlantic is effectively over. Hartford's tactics are now standard across the Royal Navy: shallow charges, slow approaches, multi-ship coordination. The Hartford method is taught at HMS Osprey Training School. The theorist who couldn't get promoted is now the foundation of British anti-submarine doctrine. June 6, 1944, D-Day, HMS Sparrow patrols the English Channel while 5,000 Allied vessels cross to Normandy, the invasion fleet that will liberate Europe. The armada that could never have sailed if U-boats still controlled the Atlantic. Hartford watches from the bridge as destroyers, transports, landing craft stream past. Thousands of ships, hundreds of thousands of men, all crossing waters that he helped clear. Crews stands beside him. "Sir, without you, none of this would be possible." Hartford's voice is quiet. "Without 900 German submariners dying, you mean?" "Sir, you did what was necessary." Necessary, yes. I'll have that carved on their graves." He turns away from the invasion fleet. "Resume patrol, Commander." July 7th, 1944. Routine patrol, southwest approaches, no contacts. Just grey water and a summer sky that Hartford barely sees anymore. He's on the bridge at 1400 hours when the headache starts. Sharp. Behind his left eye, not unusual. He's had headaches for months. Coffee and determination push through them, but this one is different. His vision blurs. The tactical plot splits into double images. He grips the rail for balance. "Sir?" Cruz is at his side. "Captain Hartford?" Hartford tries to speak. His mouth won't form words correctly. The left side of his face feels numb. He collapses. Cruz catches him, lowers him to the deck, screaming for the surgeon. Cerebral thrombosis. A blood clot in the brain. Caused by exhaustion, malnutrition, stress, and 2 years of 18-hour workdays with inadequate rest. Hartford is unconscious before the surgeon arrives. Royal Naval Hospital, Liverpool. Margaret sits beside the bed, holding a hand that doesn't respond. The doctors have explained the situation with clinical precision. Massive cerebral thrombosis, significant brain damage, minimal chance of recovery. Even if he wakes, he will not be the same man. But he doesn't wake. For 48 hours, Aldrich Hartford lies motionless. Breathing, heart beating, but absent. Margaret reads letters aloud. Letters from merchant sailors whose convoys he protected. From escort commanders he trained, from the Admiralty commending his service. She doesn't know if he can hear. July 9th, 1944. 23:47 hours. The monitoring equipment shows heart rate declining, breathing becoming shallow. Margaret holds his hand and whispers, "You saved them all, James. You can rest now." At 23:47 hours, Captain Aldrich Hartford's heart stops. He is 48 years old. He has commanded ships for 32 months. He has sunk 20 U-boats. He has saved approximately 4,200 Allied sailors through statistical calculation. The official cause of death is cerebral thrombosis. The true cause is that he worked himself to death, killing submarines. July 12, 1944. Liverpool Cathedral holds 1,000 people for the funeral. Admirals in dress uniform, merchant sailors in civilian clothes, dock workers who loaded the supplies Hartford protected, families of men who came home because a convoy made it through. Admiral Ashford delivers the eulogy. Captain Hartford taught us that expertise matters more than rank, that results matter more than procedure, that one person with the courage to challenge failed doctrine can change the course of history. The coffin is carried to Liverpool Bay at 1400 hours. HMS Sparrow and the second support group ships form a line. The flag-draped coffin is committed to the Atlantic. Captain Aldrich Hartford is buried at sea, in the waters where he hunted submarines, where he perfected the tactics that won the Battle of the Atlantic, where he killed 900 men to save 4,000. Margaret stands on the dock, watching the ceremony through tears. A merchant sailor approaches her, old, weathered. He removes his cap. Mom, I don't know if this helps, but I sailed 4 convoys that your husband escorted. When his ships were protecting us, I slept at night. When other escorts were assigned, I kept my life jacket on. He pauses. Because of him, I'm going home to my wife. I thought you should know. Margaret nods, unable to speak. The letters arrive for weeks afterward, from escort commanders Hartford trained, from German U-boat commanders he captured, writing from prisoner camps, from survivors of merchant ships that made it through Wolfpack attacks. One letter is from Werner Kessler, the U-574 commander Hartford, captured in December 1941. Frau Hartford, your husband was a worthy enemy. He defeated us not through brutality but through understanding us better than we understood ourselves. He was a genius. I am sorry the war took him from you. Commander Nathaniel Cruz writes, Captain Hartford saved my life 17 times in 2 years of service. I could not save his once. I will carry that failure forever. Admiral Ashford's letter is brief. Your husband proved that one person can change history. The Royal Navy is adopting Hartford's tactics as standard doctrine. Every escort commander will learn his methods. His legacy will save lives for generations. The historical record is clear. During World War II, British forces conducted 5,174 depth charge attacks using conventional doctrine. 85.5 resulted in U-boat kills, a ratio of 60 attacks per success. Captain Aldrich Hartford personally commanded approximately 140 attacks. 20 resulted in confirmed U-boat kills, a ratio of 7-to-1, 9 times more effective than standard tactics. Escort groups trained in his methods achieved similar improvements. Between May 1943 and May 1945, after Hartford's tactics became widespread, U-boat losses increased 400% while Allied merchant ship losses decreased 90%. The mathematics don't lie. One man, one passed-over desk officer, one theorist who spent 20 years analyzing failures, changed the course of the Battle of the Atlantic. The cost was 900 German submariners, 48 years of life, a marriage strained to breaking, health destroyed by exhaustion, but 4,200 Allied sailors came home. The arithmetic works, modern day, United States Naval Academy, Annapolis. An instructor stands before a class of midshipmen teaching anti-submarine warfare. The foundation of modern ASW is continuous tracking engagement, maintaining sonar contact throughout the attack, multi-platform coordination, understanding enemy psychology. A slide appears on the screen, black and white photograph, a gaunt man in Royal Navy uniform, eyes that have seen too much. Captain Aldrich Hartford, Royal Navy, 1898 to 1944. Spent 20 years as an analyst before receiving combat command at age 45, developed tactics that increased kill rates by 900%, sank 20 U-boats in 32 months, worked himself to death at age 48. A midshipman raises his hand. Sir, why did he push so hard? The instructor shows Hartford's notebook. The final entry, written in February 1944. Standard doctrine. 60 attacks per U-boat killed. Hartford method, 7 attacks per U-boat killed. Every submarine I sink saves approximately 30 merchant sailors. I can live with that arithmetic. The classroom is silent. Hartford proved something we still teach today. Effectiveness matters more than compliance. Expertise matters more than bureaucracy, and one person willing to challenge failed doctrine can save thousands of lives. The instructor pauses. The question you need to answer for yourselves is, what are you willing to sacrifice to be that person? The Atlantic Ocean, 2024. The waters where Hartford hunted are quiet now. Commercial shipping lanes, cruise ships, fishing vessels, no submarines prowl in wolf packs, no convoys burn in the night, because 80 years ago, a 45-year-old desk officer who was passed over for promotion twice decided that following bad rules was worse than breaking them. Captain Aldrich Hartford never sought glory, never wrote memoirs, never claimed credit. He simply looked at the mathematics of death and decided to change them. The cost was everything he had. The result was victory. And somewhere beneath those waters, in a place where ships once burned and submarines once hunted, his legacy remains, not in monuments or medals, but in the fundamental understanding that expertise, courage, and mathematics can defeat any enemy. Even the ones wearing your own uniform, even the ones who write the rules you're supposed to follow, even the ones who say change is impossible. One person, one idea, one refusal to accept failure, that's all it takes to change history. Aldrich Hartford proved it, at the cost of everything he was, for the sake of everyone he saved. The mathematics,